जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातिरवनचारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातिरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Canto 11, Chapter 6, chapter entitled The Yadu Dynasty Returns to Prabhas, Text 14. नस्योतगाव इव यस्य वशे भवन्ति ब्रह्मादयस्तनुभृतो मिथुरर्द्यमानः कालस्य ते प्रकृतिपुरुषयो परस्य शं नः तनोतु चरणा पुरुषोत्तमस्य नस्योतगावैव यस्य वशे भवन्ति ब्रह्मादयस्तनुभृतो मिथुरर्द्यमानः कालस्य ते प्रकृतिपूरुषयो परस्य शं नस्तनोतु चरणपुरुषोत्तमस्य नस्योतगावैव यस्य वशे भवन्ति ब्रह्मादयस्तनुभृतो मिथुरर्द्यमानः कालस्य ते प्रकृतिपूरुषयो परस्य शं नः तनोतु चरणा पुरुषोत्तमस्य नस्योतगाव इव यस्य वशे भवन्ति पुरुषयो परस्य What meaning? Nasi, through the nose. Ota, strung. Gavaha, oxen. Eva, as if. Yasya, of whose. Vashe, under the control. Bhavanti, they exist. Brahmadayaha, Brahma and all others. Tanubhritaha, the embodied living beings. Mithuhu, among each other. Ardhamanaha, struggling. Kalasya, of the force of time. Te, of yourself. Prakriti Purushayo, both the material nature and the living entity. Parasya, who is beyond them. Sham, transcendental fortune. Naha, for us. Tanotu, may they spread. Charanaha, the lotus feet. Purusha Uttamasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the transcendental entity who is superior to both material nature and enjoyer of nature. May your lotus feet bestow transcendental pleasure upon us. All of these great demigods, beginning with Brahma, are embodied living entities. Struggling painfully with one another under the strict control of your time factor, they are just like bulls dragged by ropes tied through their pierced noses. Sridhar Swami states, Nanu yuddhe deva suradayah parasparam jayanti jiyante chakim aham tatreti at ahu nasiti mithur mitho ardyamana yuddhadibi pidyamana brahmadayopi yasya tava vashe bhavanti natu jaye parajaye va swatantraha. In the perpetual battles between the demigods or devotees of the Lord and the demons or non-devotees, each side sometimes conquers and is sometimes apparently defeated. One may argue that all this has nothing to do with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since it is based on nothing more than the interaction of opposing living entities. But every living entity is, however, strictly under the control of the Personality of Godhead, and victory and defeat are always in the hands of the Lord. This does not contradict the fact of living entities' free will, since the Lord awards victory and defeat according to the merit of the living entities. In a legal battle, neither the prosecution nor the defense can act independently of the legal system presided over by the authorized judge. Victory and defeat in the court are awarded by the judge, but the judge is acting according to the laws, which do not favor or discriminate against either side. Similarly, the personality of Godhead is awarding us the result of our previous activities. In order to discredit God, materialists frequently give the argument that oftentimes innocent people suffer, whereas impious rogues enjoy life unimpeded. The fact is, however, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not a fool, as are the materialistic persons who place such arguments. The Lord can see our many previous lives. Therefore, He may allow one to enjoy or suffer in this life, not only as a result of one's present activities, but also as a result of one's previous activities. For example, by working very hard, a man may accumulate a fortune. If such a newly rich man then gives up his work and takes to a degenerate life, his fortune does not immediately disappear. On the other hand, one who is destined to become rich may now be working very hard with discipline and austerity, and yet may be without spending money. So a superficial observer might well be confused upon seeing the moral, hard-working man without funds and the degenerate, lazy man in possession of riches. Similarly, a materialistic fool without knowledge of past, present, and future is unable to understand the perfect justice of the personality of Godhead. The example in this verse, given in this verse to explain Krishna's controlling power, is appropriate. Although the bull is extremely powerful, he is easily controlled by a slight tug on a rope strung through his pierced nose. Similarly, even the most powerful politicians, scholars, demigods, etc., may be immediately be put into an unbearable situation by the omnipotent personality of Godhead. Therefore, the demigods have not come to Dwarka to proudly display their universal political and intellectual powers, but to humbly surrender at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pashyati Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavranda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So reading from this 11th canto, 6th chapter, continuing with the prayers of demigods. One good thing about the demigods is whenever they face any difficulty, they turn to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas conditioned souls may not always do so. Kunti Maharani prays to get difficulties because she knows that in difficulties she will not blame Krishna, but she will turn herself fully to him. So what response we give in our difficulties determines our conviction and faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Many people may take shelter of many other things during times of difficulties. Many may take shelter of their own minds. Many may take shelter of other people. Many may take shelter of some intoxication to get free from their mental distress or difficulties. But rare souls are those who take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So that realization that Vasudeva is Sarvam in our life, that realization is very rare. And a devotee who gets this realization, he or she doesn't bother about anything else. They only want to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, if we take the life of Lord Brahma, right from the very beginning of his birth, he was born from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And he was born on top of the lotus flower. Everywhere there was darkness. He was not knowing what to do. And in this darkness, he was wondering, what exactly should I do? He just bent below till the stem, then again came back up, and nothing. He tried to use all his intelligence. His entire body is made up of intelligence, and he used all his intelligence. But still he could not fathom what to do. And he only heard two syllables, ta and pa. And he joined them, and maybe Krishna inspired him to know the meaning of tapa as well. So he started performing tapasya. And as he performed tapasya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared and gave him darshan and spoke to him Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita that we find in 2nd canto, 9th chapter, text numbers 33 through 36, which describes the entire Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 sutras. Aham eva sameva agre nanyam yassat asat param. Like that the verse series goes. But that was actually the first identity crisis in the life of Lord Brahma. The second identity crisis in the life of Lord Brahma was when he started doing creation, because he was told, now you do creation. He started doing creation and nothing was working out. He tried to, now I'm not exactly remembering what all things happened in what all sequence, but he tried his best. At one particular time, he gave birth to Lord Shiva, and instead of creation, he started destroying only. And then he had to tell him that no, you have to wait now. And then there were 4 Kumaras. 4 Kumaras said, we will not procreate. And again, Brahmaji got very angry. So many such incidences came in between. So he was frustrated here. Anger came, disappointment came in his life. And other place, distraction also came in his life. wherein he was attracted by his own daughter, Vak. So that was the second identity crisis in the life of Brahma, wherein he is trying to do his service. Lord only has inspired him to do his service, but he is facing great obstacles to continue his service. But again, the solution was to turn to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to keep on doing his service. He crossed the second identity crisis also in his life, and he performed very well in creation, and he gave up his subtle body when he was attracted by Vak. He gave up his subtle body, gave up that mentality. And then he had Swayambhuva and Shatarupa. Through both of them, Uttanapad, Priyavrat, Devahuti, Akuti and Prasuti, 3 daughters and 2 sons, they were born. And through Priyavrat and Uttanapad, then the whole dynasties came about. And that's how the creation progressed. So this is how Brahmaji solved his second identity crisis, which came in his life. The next identity crisis which came in Brahmaji's life was when he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or even before seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was a lot of problem happening. This was, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu giving trouble, and all the demigods, they approached Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma went to Shvetadeep. He prayed to, he went to the Kshirosagar ocean, the ocean of milk, and he prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as a result, Varahadev was born, and later we find even Narsimhadev appears. And Narsimhadev, and when Prahlad Maharaj prays, the first prayer of Prahlad Maharaj is Brahma Dayas Suragana Manayotha Siddha Satvai Katana Katayo Vachasam Pravai. Brahma has tried to please you, but he is not able to satisfy you. That was again a short identity crisis in his life, wherein he could not please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he knew that I am not qualified, maybe Prahlad is qualified to do so. He overcame that identity crisis as well. Then when Lord Krishna appeared, after Krishna's appearance, Brahma again fell into an identity crisis. Obviously, we may be talking about different Brahmas, but let's take on that post and then take out some lessons through that. So we find when Krishna appeared, then Brahmaji was like, that episode comes in wherein Madhumangal is having buttermilk in his mouth, and he's doing like this, and because buttermilk is there. And Krishna comes, and Krishna does like this to Madhumangal and drinks the entire buttermilk from his mouth directly to Krishna's own mouth. And Brahmaji is seeing that, and he gets the shock of his life. Can this be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? No, he cannot be. So again, another identity crisis. He forgets, and he does a very big blunder. He kidnaps, or rather steals, the cowherd boys and the calves of Krishna. It is only there for one moment, but 1 year passes here, this earth. And when he comes back, again he is quite bewildered, because Krishna gives him darshan. All the cowherd boys and calves are as they were previously. After that, he gets the darshan of all Vishnu forms, and he is totally bewildered. After that, he realizes that I was dealing with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I was not dealing with any ordinary person of this world. And when that happens, then he sings one of the most beautiful prayers which come in Srimad Bhagavatam. And those prayers are quite celebrated prayers which come in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, wherein he tells that the goal of my life is to become the servant of devotees. Tadastu me natha sabhuri bhago bhavetavanyatra tuvatirascham yena hameko bhavajjananam bhutva nisheve tava pada pallavam. He says, my dear Lord, if I have committed, if I have even a small piety, then let me take birth as a deer in Vrindavan. I do not desire a high birth. All your devotees are very glorious. Aho iti dhanya vrajago ramanya. The cows are glorious, the cowherd girls are glorious, the gopis are glorious, everyone is glorious. But let me just take birth close to Vrindavan so that I can just be a deer and lick your lotus feet. That will be my greatest fortune. So he totally solves his identity crisis which come in his life. And finally, because he understands that he has committed a terrible mistake, he says, now I have to be born again, but now this time in a very low class family. And the same Haridas Thakur, the same Brahmaji, he takes birth as Haridas Thakur. And we find the life of Haridas Thakur, there is no identity crisis. Right from the very beginning, he is very clear that I am the servant of the servant of the servant. And that identity remains till the end of his life. Even in Mahaprakash Leela, when Haridas Thakur is asked, what do you want? Haridas Thakur says that let me be a dog at the home of a Vaishnava. At the end of his life, when he is about to depart, he is taking blessings from all the Vaishnavas and he is saying to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, my dear Lord, I want to leave this world by seeing your lotus-like face, by seeing your by seeing your beautiful face and your smile. I just want to leave this body in your lap only. And Mahaprabhu personally takes the body of Haridas Thakur and he takes it, if you have ever gone to Jagannath Puri, he himself takes his body to the beach. And then he says that this beach has become a tirtha now, because Haridas Thakur has taken a bath. Obviously, every day he would be taking a bath there, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is proclaiming that, due to the affection for his dear devotee. And now also we have the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur very close to the beach of Jagannath Puri. So if we see Brahmaji's life, now here the example of Brahma is coming, and the demigods headed by Brahma, they are praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that how the Lord is in control. So the demigods actually realize that sometimes they may forget it, but they again go back to the track. That yes, my real position is to be the servant of Krishna. My real position is to be the servant of devotees. And that's how Brahma is dealing with the identity crisis which came in his life. In a sadhaka's life also, identity crisis may come in. And how we deal with them determines how will we advance in our Krishna consciousness. When we come initially to Krishna consciousness, our first identity is shaken. And the identity is that I am my designation, I am my gender, I am my whatever my identities are. We are very dearly holding on to our identities. But then we are told, no. You are, first of all, you are not the body, you are the spirit soul. That is the first identity crisis. So many people, they are not able to digest that identity, that I am the soul, because of maybe wanting enjoyment, because of not wanting to give up the things that they generally did. And because of that, what happens is they are not able to continue ahead. Because at the first stage of identity, only they fail. Then there are those who want to continue. Okay, I am soul. Okay, I understood now, I am the soul. And then a newer identity comes, that you are the servant of Krishna. You are not only a soul, but you are a servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. You are an eternal servant of Krishna. And when this identity comes up, then a few people say, oh no, I don't want to be a servant of anyone. No, I want independence in my life. Okay, till the time soul is there, okay, I understand. But then, why should I surrender to this one person? There are so many people whom I can surrender unto. So I don't want to surrender to this person. So they get shaken in their identity at this point, and then they feel, okay, I don't want to continue further. Then there are few rare souls, those who think that, no, okay, this identity is also good. Servant of Krishna, fine, I will serve Krishna. I will serve the deities very nicely. Then, as we continue our practice, we get another identity. You are not only the servant of Krishna, but you are a servant of devotees also. Servant of the servant of the servant. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das 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 Anudas. And when that identity comes up, in the initial stage it becomes quite easy to accept that because everyone is senior to us. And we are maybe new to Bhakti, so we are in the mood of learning. And we continue on. But as we go ahead on this path, on this journey, then sometimes the same identity may cause a crisis in our life. Vritrasur, after his entire, whatever obstacles, challenges came in his life, we were discussing once, he was cursed by Parvati, who is a devotee. Then he was killed by Indra, who is again another devotee. Still he says that I want to be the servant of devotees. So obviously, I'm sure that Vritrasur will not associate with Indra in the spiritual world, but the identity is very clear. The principle is very clear. And what is the principle? The principle is I am the servant of the servant of the servant. So that identity he maintained even in the greatest challenge that came in his life. So similarly, in a sadhaka's life, as he or she progresses in their spiritual journey, so they may face obstacles either by situations, through situations. Some situations may come which may take them away from the association of devotees, and then there is a choice. What should I do? Should I go away or should I still remain? Sometimes dealing with situations is quite easy, but sometimes devotees may betray devotees. And when devotees betray us, or criticize us, or blaspheme us, tiraskrita vipralabdha shapta shipta hata api. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed by a devotee. Then when that identity is also taken away, then what does a devotee do in his or her life? That determines how we overcome that crisis in our life. So His Holiness Bhakti Vidyan Swami Maharaj, he talks about that. There is one PPT which he had made. So I'll just read some things from that. Very, very interesting what he says about that. So he says that ultimately our real ego that we have to form as the servant of the servant or as a servant can only be formed in the association of devotees. Without association of devotees, it is not possible. Therefore, we have Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Prema Janme Teho Punha Mukhya Anga. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we need association, but even after perfection, we need association of devotees. Without that, there is nothing for a devotee, because in the spiritual world, there will be only devotees. There are no other people in the spiritual world. And even more than Krishna, we will associate with devotees. Because, if suppose you are a gopi or a manjari in the spiritual world, during the daytime, Krishna will be gone to the forest. So what he will do? He'll associate with other devotees. If somebody is a sakha in the spiritual world, then he will be daytime with Krishna, but other times he will be with other devotees. So therefore, association of devotees is critical to our progress. And then he says that there are in our like gradual progress of devotional service, there are different things that develop in our life. So the first level, which is Shraddha, he says that there is a development of trust. Trust develops at the level of Shraddha. The next level is Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha leads to development of responsibility. Then the third stage, Bhajan Kriya. It is a development of mindfulness and introspection. As you keep on introspecting, what is happening? How is my journey progressing in spiritual life? And the fourth is Anartha Nivritti, wherein he says development of humility, tolerance, and respect in association. So there will be undoubtedly there will be situations coming in our life which will challenge our humility, which will challenge our tolerance, and which will challenge us to disrespect devotees. So anartha nivritti is overcoming those things, he says. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Bhakti Aloka chapter 4, he writes, according to the degree of faith, each level has different rules. As one leaves behind one level and progresses to the next, he should honor the rules of the latter and leave aside those of the former. Those who do not give up the rules of previous level are bound by those rules like chains that do not allow him to proceed to the next level. So the rules by which we came into Krishna consciousness, the same rules may not be applicable now. For instance, when devotees were new, then even Prabhupada writes in teachings of Queen Kunti that even you can drink alcohol, and by drinking alcohol you can think that this is the taste of Krishna, there is no problem. But definitely Prabhupada would not give that recommendation to an initiated devotee. Even if that initiated devotee says, Prabhupada, you only have written in teachings of Queen Kunti. No, Prabhupada will say, no, this is written for the newcomers in Krishna consciousness. So we have to give up the rules of the previous level and go to higher rules. That is what he says. And then he mentions a very nice thing. He says that the English word crisis, we were talking about identity crisis. He says that the English word crisis comes from the Greek word decision or a turning point. So actually crisis means you take a decision or there is some turning point which is coming in one's life. And he says crises of spiritual development are always identity crisis. And there could be 3 possible outcomes. Even Arjuna, for instance, he faced an identity crisis. What am I doing here? I don't want to fight. Maybe I'll beg. But then Krishna personally, as his guru, as his friend, he helped him overcome that identity crisis in his life. So he says that there are 3 possible outcomes of this identity crisis which may come in our life. First outcome is success. Second outcome is failure. And the third outcome is compromise, what we may do. So he says, how can we understand we have overcome the crisis, overcome the identity crisis? We're talking about Lord Brahma, how he overcame the identity crisis. And ultimately he came so close to devotees, he prayed that just I want to be a devotee in Vrindavan. I want to be a deer in Vrindavan. And finally, as Haridas Thakur, he did not face identity crisis even when Maya Devi came herself. Because his identity was very clear. He had gone through all levels of spiritual maturity, of spiritual evolution, if you can say like that. So he says, overcoming the crisis means, first thing what will happen is, attachment to Krishna increases. Our attachment to Krishna will increase by that crisis. Kunti Maharani faced many crises in her life. In her life, she only went closer to Krishna. Kritadyuti faced one crisis in her life. Her one son died, and she lost her faith in Krishna. She says that, what is this providence? Who is this providence? It seems as if he does not have any intelligence, that he killed the child even before the mother is still watching. So like that. So overcoming the crisis means, first thing, attachment to Krishna increases. Second thing is, one's internal integrity grows up. Internally one becomes very much integral to the process of bhakti. Third thing what happens is, closer integration into the society of devotees. Now it is very interesting, because many a times when crisis comes, we want to go away from the association of devotees. But here he mentions that overcoming the crisis means closer integration into the society of devotees. May not be the same devotee, like we are talking about Vritrasura and Indra. So may not be the same devotee, but the principle remains that I don't want to give up the association of devotees. Association of devotees is crucial for my progress. And the fourth thing that happens is formation of new skills. One may form new skills of dealing with people or any other spiritual or life skills. And then he says, failure to overcome the crisis, if we fail, at best brings about stagnation. One feels, okay, this is where I want to be. Okay, I'll go ahead. I will be like a signpost, just giving, Milwaukee, 60 miles, that's it. I will remain there only. So failure to overcome the crisis at best brings about stagnation In the worst case scenario, it means weakening one's internal integrity and alienation from the society of devotees. One may feel that I don't want to associate with devotees anymore. That is when we fail to overcome the crisis. And this crisis will come in everyone's life. Crisis through situations, crisis through association, and crisis through all other things. And then he says, failure implies the inability to develop the new skill and to follow the rules of the higher stage. That is what is failure, to overcome the crisis. And the third thing, which is compromise. Compromise is externally one is moving forward, but the internal problem is not resolved. So internal, it is still there internally in the heart, and sooner or later it will surface again, but this time more severely. Like that, more severely it will arise. So he says that what are the fears in these different stages of devotional service? In Shraddha, there is fear of taking shelter. Oh, how can I take shelter of Krishna? So there is a lack of trust. Sadhu Sangha, there is a fear of accepting commitment. Then in Bhajan Kriya, he says, there is mechanical following or fear of introspection. One may not want to go deep, because if I don't go too deep, I may see all of my anarthas, and it is little difficult for me to see my anarthas in Bhajan Kriya. And anartha nivritti is fear of humility and respect in association of devotees. I want to keep my ego. I want to maintain my ego. I don't want to be humbled by Krishna. I don't want to become humble internally, so that arrogance remains. And therefore, he says that Bhajan Kriya is crisis of lack of spiritual taste and the substitution of the goal. We substitute our goal for something else in Bhakti. And Anartha Nivritti is crisis of spiritual failure. So that is what happens in the life of a devotee. So therefore, as we are marching ahead on this path, when this identity crisis comes, he says at one particular place that whenever this identity crisis come in our life, we have to understand our eternal position as the servant of Krishna and the servant of devotees. And whatever crisis comes, if we situate ourselves on this particular platform and try to solve those crises in our life, then we can solve them. But any other identity we hold on unto, we are talking about Brahmaji. Brahmaji faced many crises, but he held on to his identity. He changed his identity many a times of being the controller, but then he understood, no, I am not the controller. Again, he humbled himself. So there was a repetition in his coming to the position of a servant, and then ultimately, as Haridas Thakur, he became a total servant, wherein he did not want anything of Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta or Shribhir. He did not want any of that. We have many of our acharyas, those who possessed everything. They possessed a high birth, they possessed high bodily beauty, they possessed great opulence, and they possessed great education, like Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami. But their identity was also very clear. Even to the extent when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not replying to their messages, the Lord of their life was not responding to them. First of all, they were serving Nawab Hussain Shah. They had taken externally different identities as Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. But their internal integrity was very clear that no, we are the servants of the Supreme Lord. And therefore they had constructed Vrindavan in their homes. And they had beautiful discussions of Srimad Bhagavatam, which they would have with the devotees. That was very clear in their lives. So being under the government of Nawab Hussain Shah was one identity crisis for them, but they were not affected by that. Not getting response from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was again another identity crisis. But their identity was very clear, that no, still we want to serve Mahaprabhu. And then one reply came, and then finally they got Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, and finally they got established in their service to the Lord. Even when Radharani came, herself came to serve them sweet rice. There's a pastime which took place in Tera Kadamba, a place in Nandagram. And Sanatana Goswami says to Rupa, that how could you allow? And Rupa was not knowing who is this girl. And Sanatana Goswami said, how can we allow Srimati Radharani to serve us? Our life is meant for serving them. So even when they are getting personal reciprocation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their identity was very clear. That we are not meant to take service from them. We are just meant to serve them. And because they maintained their identity as the servant of Krishna, as the servant of devotees, therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, empowered Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Kalena vrindavana keli varta lupte titam khyapaitum vishishya kripamritena bhishchita devas tatraiva rupam cha sanatanam cha. He empowered Rupa and Sanatana to excavate the holy places, to write books, and to be a beacon light for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are going to come for the next 10,000 years. And therefore we are all called as Rupanugas. We are Prabhupadanugas also, but we are Rupanugas also. And that's how we find our Acharyas who maintain their identity always in their lives. Because they understood that at no point we can be controllers. And here the demigods are saying the same thing. We cannot be controlled. We are always like that bull who is being pierced in the nose by the rope and being pulled. Similarly, we are like that. So if a devotee, as devotees, if we can learn to face this identity crisis in our lives and go on, because sometimes what happens is when devotees are unable to face this identity crisis, instead of becoming dependent, they become independent. And they say, no, I want to go to Radha Kund and practice devotional service alone. I don't want any authority. I had met one person in a train. He was a brahmachari. Somehow he got with us while returning to Vrindavan, returning from Vrindavan, and somehow one of our devotees did not travel, so we had a free seat. So we gave that to him, and he was thanking Krishna. Oh, Krishna is so merciful. No, gave me a seat. And then he was telling that I was told by my spiritual master. The spiritual master told him that you go and serve in some temple because you are a monk. So okay, if this temple is not okay for you, serve in this temple, serve in that temple, at least serve somewhere. So he said, I came for 15 days or so, but it is not possible for me. Now I like Radha Kund, I like the life there, because there is no accountability to anyone. I just want to do my own bhajan. So definitely Krishna may have given him a seat in the train, but if Krishna will give a seat in the spiritual world, that is a question. That is between him and Krishna ultimately. But without having devotees in between, we cannot approach Krishna. That remains a clear-cut factor in spiritual life. So some people, they go away from devotional service when crisis come in their life. Some people, they alienate from association of devotees when crisis come. But those who stick on, so the fact that somebody is sticking on to the association of devotees means they have developed the resilience. Gaurang Prabhu has written this book, Art of Resilience. So they have developed that resilience in their life. They have developed that, they have gone through that phase in their life where they can appreciate and value the association. They value being the servant of Krishna, and they value being the servant of servant. So these are some thoughts. Are there any comments or reflection points?
I have one comment. So regarding the identity crisis, devotees sometimes they want to know what is their relationship with the Lord. Like you must have heard Prabhupada was a friend of Krishna, like who is he, Sakha, what is that? So similarly, devotees community, we want to know that, what is my role in spiritual world so that I can act accordingly. So I'm just wanted to hear your comment. What is we know that dasanu das, but at the same time we want to know that what is my identity in spiritual world. Based on that, so that I can act.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that our Siddha Pranali mantra is Trinadapi Sunichena Tarurapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. So as we go following this verse and as we go on chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the same mantra, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Harinam Chintamani at the end, he writes that the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra has the potency to reveal, definitely name has the potency to reveal first the form, then the qualities, then the pastimes of Krishna, and then our place also in those pastimes. Where are we situated in those pastimes? So instead of kind of wanting to know our nature, even if I understand that I am a gopi in the spiritual world or a manjari in the spiritual world, what can I do now? It is not that I will start wearing the dress of a gopi and start acting in that way. That will become another apasampradaya. That is what Sakhi Bekis do. That is what Gauranga Nagaris do. And we had so many apasampradayas during the time of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And therefore such people are called as Sahajiyas. Why Sahajiyas? Because they take bhakti very cheaply. Because the perfection of spiritual life cannot be attained in a matter of 1 day or 1 year or even 10 years. It requires a lifelong commitment. And ultimately, the eternal position, one's eternal position will be revealed by Krishna. It is not that we start acting in that way and a person who can... Now we are, like at least I am in the stage of anartha nivritti. So many anarthas are there. So in that anartha filled heart, even if we come to know what big deal will change in our life. So first of all, we have to try to become intense in our spiritual practice. That is what I feel. This is one understanding. Second thing is, Prabodhananda Saraswati says this very beautiful verse. Yatha yatha gaura padara vinde vindeta bhaktim krita punya rashi tatha tathotpasarpati ridya kasmat radha pudam bhujastam burashi. He says that as you engage yourself in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani will automatically, spontaneously manifest within your heart. So as we are engaging in the mission of Mahaprabhu, as we are doing Harinam Sankirtan, as we are engaging ourselves in the mission in whatever way as designated to us, as we go on doing in this way, automatically Radha Krishna's love will come, automatically that revelation will come to us. During Prabhupada's time also there were some people, those who would go to this Radha Kund Babaji's, and one fellow started dancing like a peacock on the terrace of Krishna Balaram Mandir. And Prabhupada said, are you crazy? When you understand you are a peacock, you will not need to practice that. So practice does not mean that we practice in that particular form. Like for example, if somebody wants to win a Wimbledon series tennis match, it is not that he gets a Wimbledon trophy and he keeps on lifting it every day. Oh no, I want to lift the Wimbledon. No, that is not the process of lifting Wimbledon. Process is you practice, you do net practice every day. And you perform so well in your tennis that you go to the finals and then you lift the trophy. So our role is net practice now. So as we go on doing our net practice, a time will come when the trophy will come to us. It is not that you can steal the trophy directly. The trophy will come to us. So in the same manner, we go on in our spiritual life. And doesn't Krishna give, blissful experiences, even at the stage of anartha nivritti? He gives them, definitely. May not be so many, but definitely he gives. And that is what is a devotee's bliss. And to the degree we are attentive whenever we are performing any particular activity, to that degree we are attentive and absorbed. To that degree we can feel bliss, even at the stage of anartha nivritti. That is the potency of devotional service. These are some thoughts. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavat Purana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.